Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. How's everyone today? Day 4. Okay, have any of you ever watched that reality TV show Big Brother? And if you watch the UK version, I don't know what accent it is. I don't know if it's Irish or Scouse, but the guy at the beginning, he's like, he says the day and then he describes what's going on in the house. And I was like, I need for somebody to do a TikTok, like a royal parody of that. Like, day 4 in the Great British Morning. We got Randy Andy filling up his lasso's backside, and Charles is just like ordering around his aides. Like, I need for somebody to do that parody. Only the Brits will understand any of what I just said. But welcome to the live chat, everyone. Thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Day 4. How are we feeling on day 4? Are you as exhausted as I am? Have you mourned? I walked through my city centre. Sorry, not city centre, my town. Earlier this afternoon, and there was a bunch of young people. They looked about 15 to 16, and I just overheard one of them saying, "Oh, you didn't get the memo? We're all meant to wear black." And they all started laughing, and I could absolutely swear they were talking about the Queen. I could absolutely swear they were talking about the Mourning, because like, what else would they be talking about? And then in the park, there was maybe about 150 people. They had a small memorial because there's like a cathedral near where I live. Well, there's two. And I live in quite a conservative constituency. So there was a little vigil that was held, but it was quite interesting because they did it. I mean, it was in the afternoon, so there were other people that were there that just happened to be there. And I did hear a couple of whisperings in the background, like when they started talking about the Queen and her service, like a couple of people kind of tutting and not very impressed. But there was like a good 150, 200 people who were there for the vigil. So like in individual small towns, they're kind of doing their own little things as well. Let's see who's in the chat. Sharpie. It's taken too long. Shorten it and move on. Yeah, it's day 4, and so far, what do we have? As I tweeted earlier today, we've got Irish Twitter singing "Lizzie's in a Box," Charles bossing around his aide, Andrew being rightfully heckled by a young brave man. We'll get to that later. Black Lives Matter protesters being mistaken for a vigil. BBC joking about Scottish genocide. Oh god, I actually forgot to get the clip for that one, so I'll have to get the clip for that one tomorrow. But yeah, that happened. And Meghan going viral for being her sweet self. And it's only day 4. Oh. Good evening, everyone, if you're joining the chat. Yeah, Susie Q, I could not do what Meghan does. Honestly, Meghan is a ride or die. And honey, I don't care if he's a prince or a pookie. You do not ride and die. I'm not about that ride and die life. No. I want the soft life. Meghan is a better woman than me. That dog needs a pina colada, and so do I. No, I'm actually avoiding alcohol because alcohol just slows me down. Girl, Lewis, it's going to be the longest mourning period ever. Indeed. Oh, thank you so much, Colleen. I'm glad you like my musical selection. None of you have ever watched Big Brother, okay? Or one or two of you have. Cat Harlem, are you late again? No. Welcome to all the new members over the last week. Like, wow, there's quite a few new ones. All right, let's get straight to it. Right, what are we going to start with today? Okay, I guess we can start with Harry's tribute to his grandmother. And I'm just going to read something else, something out that I wrote earlier on. I'm actually going to extend this into a much longer article because there's a lot more I feel like I have to say about this. So Harry released a statement on the Archer website, and here's what I personally felt about this. I don't expect Harry to be any other than respectful to his grandmother. I wonder, in Harry's attempts to have difficult conversations about the past, his own words, was he trying to soften the inevitable blow that has come in his mother's passing? It must be painful for him to watch this, but while the Queen is his grandmother, she is many things to other people. Harry seems to be the only person in that family with hindsight, because say those difficult conversations, as he put it, had been had, and say the royals as a collective were willing to have them and learn from the past, would the outpouring of anger towards his grandmother be a lot less in her passing? We'll never know, because any attempt by the Sussexes to have progressive conversations were met with anger. Just a photo of Meghan, a duchess, putting herself on equal footing with the little black girl and kissing her hand triggered the hounds. What more a conversation about making amends for colonialism, or talking about the current socioeconomic situation in Britain, that of which affects mainly working class people? That could have possibly made heads explode. Furthermore, when we talk about service, charity, galvanizing people to do good, inspiring masses of people and reaching out to subjugated communities, both Harry and Meghan have arguably done more in their short time than the Queen ever did in her 96 years. They are the model not just for modern royalty or celebrity, but for what you should be when you are a privileged person with a platform. Harry deserves to grieve, but we all deserve also to have the difficult conversations about the institutions he was born into and his grandmother. I believe that we can make space for both of those things. And I'm going to expand on that a little bit more in an article that I'm working on. Um, but I think it is important to acknowledge both of those things. The fact that, yes, this is Harry's grandmother, and of course he's going to be grieving his grandmother, but there's also a lot of other people who are going to be um this time is going to be a time of pain and reflection for them because of what his grandmother represents and the institution that he was born into. And I think both of those things, we can hold space for both of those things. Oh, is it someone's anniversary? Whose anniversary is it? um Hello, if you're just joining us. All right. So yeah, that was that. Harry, I think he wanted to wait probably until after 9/11 and until after William and Charles gave their tributes as well. It's also come out though that Andrew will be allowed to wear his military gear for the final vigil, but Harry will not, which says to me that they are still trying to use the Queen's passing as a way of rehabilitating Andrew's image. And I mean, I don't know what service Anne has done. I don't think it's enough to have all those medals, those chocolate medals. But Edward dropped out of military school. What was it, after 3 or 4 months? So why does he have so many chocolate medals? I think it's a very bad look for the royals to not allow the one person really in their family who does not have any drama attached to them, to not allow him to honor his time as a serviceman, and to then allow the randy uncle to show up to the funeral in gear. We're only 4 days out and there's already so much drama. I hope that they rethink that decision. Onto something a bit more positive. Thank you so much to everybody who got me to 10K on Instagram. I think it's like 10.5K now. I've grown like 500 people in one day. I think on Saturday I got like 900 followers. And no, unlike Kensington Palace, I am not buying bots. That is 100% organic. So thank you everyone for your support. Much, much appreciated. And my Instagram, I'll put the handle in the chat. Hang on a sec. It is at Duchess of Success Official. So you can go follow on Instagram. Miranda, I'm gonna need a tranquilizer to get through the next 7 days. Just one shot of vodka could do it. Need for tranquilizers. Um, Delbertites. This is Harry's grandmother, but she is also the one responsible for his mother's death and for his wife and family's misery. Well, Harry doesn't seem to see it that way. It seems that he places more of the blame on the institution and his other family members, but not the Queen. And I, from what I can see anyway, I'm only going from what I've seen and what I've heard. Harry's only ever said good things about his grandmother, and as far as he's concerned, she's separate from the institution. So I don't know if I don't want to project anything onto Harry. I don't know if that could be like somewhat of a sense of cognitive dissonance, or uh, but you do well, you can't help but ask the question, well, then why hasn't she done anything? Or why does she not have the power to do anything? I think it would be a lot less confusing for a lot of us if we understood why the monarch could not do anything to protect his family. Because I think this is what's kind of adding to the confusion and why a lot of Sussex fans even are quite frustrated is that we're watching all of this happen and she as the monarch has not done anything, and I think that's creating quite a lot of confusion because as far as we know in other situations when she wants to act in favor of other family members, for example protecting Andrew, she does that. Or is that her choice? Is that the institution's choice? I think there needs to be more clarity about that. Andrew, I think the funeral was extended because they're not getting the crowds they expected. It could also be why we're being given a bank holiday. Bonnie, so who makes these decisions to allow or not allow these uniforms? Charles, the men in grey? I have no idea. That's a very good question. Delbert types, how does Harry reconcile all of that? Respect Harry, but he must fully acknowledge that the old lady was not a good person at all. I think only Harry will ever know that question. We'll never know that question, and I'm not going to try and attempt to speak as if I can answer that question. Gina, I say that Charles's anger during signing at the house just tells me that Charles is a very mean machine man. He hates Harry's success, period. Of course, because Harry has done more in his 30 something years than Charles has done in his 70 something. He's just been waiting for mummy's big fluffy hat. All he's been waiting for. And at the end of the day, the uniforms and medals don't make a soldier. A soldier is a soldier regardless. Veronica, Charles hated Harry from birth for not being the girl he wanted, having red hair at present and being more lovable. Harry will never be broken, yes. And how heartbreaking is that for Harry? Um, R.R. Carter, yes, I need the clarity. Doesn't the king do what the king wants to do, as Oprah put it? Yeah, very confusing. Anywho, moving on. This was the senator, the famous senator in Australia, I believe it was, who, if you remember, she took the oath, but she initially, when she took the oath, she called the Queen a colonizer, and then she had to take it again because she had to say the script exactly how it is without the word colonizer. So she came out and tweeted this. This is Linda Thorpe. The Queen is dead. I've had some days to reflect and know that people wanted me to come out ranting and raving to confirm their views of me as a crazy black woman. In the days since, I've seen anger and disbelief from First Nations peoples at the glorification of our oppressor. I've seen our political leaders continue the oppressive narrative that continues to keep First people in this country down. They've shown zero regard for us or how we're feeling or the fact that we've been calling for a day of mourning for over 80 years. The country has a new king. The parliament and the prime minister are subjugated to someone we didn't elect. We don't need a new king. We need a head of state chosen by the people. The process towards being able to pick our own head of state would bring us all together. It would force us to tell the truth about our history and move us towards real action, to right the wrongs that started with colonization. Incarceration rates, deaths in custody, and child removals are all symptoms of an ongoing war against First Nations people in this country. Treaty is an end to the war. We have the opportunity to do things differently in this country. It's time for the government to show some ambition. She ends by saying, we could use this moment and momentum to empower people to democratically elect our leader, someone who represents all of us, uniting a country that has owned up to its past and chosen its own future. That unity would be more powerful than any king, but we must treaty first. Can I get an amen? Sister said what she said, and she said it very well. Where was the lie? There wasn't one. And I think that a lot of political figures, especially those who have more Republican leanings, are going to be using this as an opportunity. Moving on to some slightly comical news. So, mourners have been leaving marmalade sandwiches as tributes to the Queen because of the Queen's love of Paddington Bear, and there was that famous um, skit that she did with Paddington for the Jubilee. And as Uncle Trash, what a Twitter name, said, when the state propaganda works too well and you have mountains of uneaten sandwiches outside a literal palace while the food banks run on empty because of the cost of living crisis. What's so funny is that there are probably people who left sandwiches. I actually saw one person who left a piece of broccoli in the gates. Well, that was out. There are probably people who left sandwiches that have never donated to a food bank in their entire lives. So yeah, that was happening. Let me go to your comments before we continue. Poetry is polite. I hope Megan survives because this is a lot. Well, we're all praying. Apparently the children are coming, but again, this is coming from the press. So until I see confirmation, I'm not going to believe it. Oh, and one of the things that Harry said in his tribute to the Queen was that he was glad that the grandchildren got to meet the Queen. So Lilibet definitely got to meet her. Carolyn Tubes, we have to realize that the Queen was all Harry had when his mother died. So he probably sees her as his saving grace, and he was just 12 years old when his mum died. Yes. That could very well be the case, but only Harry knows. Catherine, Edward has plastic medals that his mother gave him. Harry has the genuine medals that he earned in the army in the past 10 years. Amazing. That is so true. Gail Lewis, I'll be voting for a Republic here in Australia for sure. Well done. Hanan Youssef, I read yesterday that Australia's Prime Minister said out of respect for the late Queen, he won't work towards their liberation from the UK for 3 years. Oh, for goodness sake. Anybody else in Australia, can you confirm that? Out of respect for 3 years? Is he afraid her ghost will haunt him? 3 years? What on earth? Coco, Edward quit while still in boot camp and not even enrolled. Yet they are wearing uniforms and medals. Yeah, for what? Okay, moving on. There was this piece that was written that I thought was very oh, it was just brilliant. So I'm just going to read it out. The writing's a bit small on the screen, sorry, but I'm going to read it out. This was in a newspaper and it said, "Letter from London from our own correspondent. To London, where also I think this was a representative from Cape Verde, and it said to London, where the passing of Queen Elizabeth II has seen a divided nation unite in a frenzy of performative grief. Seems paradoxical to commemorate a famously stoic sovereign with a festival of mawkishness until you remember that in Poppyland, competitive mourning is a national sport. Thus, the same people who froth at the faintest hint of a virtue signal fall over themselves to be filmed in quiet contemplation, while those who refuse to use other people's preferred pronouns are thrilled that the ones in the national anthem have changed. Remember, it's not woke if it's at a wake. The contradiction of presuming to know what made this deeply private woman tick goes unnoticed outside Buckingham Palace, where commentators with no sense of gabble earnestly about history before a sea of pliant subjects, apparently lifted from the Wimbledon queue. If there are better ways to elevate the crushing sense of your own morality than ram raiding an Oxford Street souvenir shop and spending 10 days pissing in a portaloo while a £6 billion crown passes from mother to son, nobody has told them. The politicians, meanwhile, having just had 6 weeks off at a time when Philip Schofield is offering heating as a prize on This Morning, are pausing for another two as the Bank of England starts to print Charlie on the notes, with which they sniff, accusing them of taking cocaine. They are living out the new PM's claim that Britons are among the worst idlers in the world. The most malign are the most visible, telegraphing their synthetic grief or vilifying anyone who fails to rise to an expected standard of it. These people, too predictable to name, prevent to venerate the qualities that the sovereign was said to embody, as if by celebrating a hackneyed version of the national condition, they make up for the despicability of their own. It is worth remembering that when the worms make their way through your eye socket, they will not care whether you lived in a palace or a council flat. That is so true. Only those you knew and touched can testify your worth. The imagined qualities of people we've never met are as unsubstantial as those who try to exploit them. That is one of the most beautifully written pieces of text and funny that I've ever seen. So, whoever wrote that, because the name isn't even on the article, thank you so much for your impeccable wordsmithingness. If that's it, wordsmithingness? Okay, I'm just gonna say thank you so much for this wordsmith. I'm just making up words now. Um, Paul, I read somewhere that Doria is bringing Lilibet and Archie. Yeah, well, that'll be left to see. All right, on to the next thing. I can't see too many comments. Yeah, day 4, and we're also fighting with Scotland over stones. So there's this stone called the Stone of Destiny, and it's going to be removed from Scotland to London for the forthcoming coronation. And I'll put a link in the community tab to this because it's actually quite interesting about the whole history of the stone. But it's been used for coronations before. It was taken, but it was then returned to Scotland. And someone in the Scottish paper said, "I cannot be alone in being affronted by the proposal that the Stone of Destiny be removed from Scotland to London for the forthcoming coronation of King Charles III. Edward I of England, in his rampages through Scotland, seized the stone specifically so that he could place it humiliatingly under his own throne as an insulting symbol of the subjugation of Scotland. Much was made of the return of the stone to Scotland in 1996 as a token of respect for the Scottish nation. Surely King Charles would do well to avoid repeating the insults of the symbolism intended by Edward Longshanks. Indeed, his own respect for our nation would be greatly enhanced if he were to decline to have the stone reinstalled under the coronation throne. Well, it's left to be seen whether or not Charles will take the stone. But I mean, these were the papers yesterday. After 70 years of waiting, you can't even make the front newspapers. It's all about Harry, Meghan, and the other royals, as CNN rightly put it. Imagine. And also today, there was a ceremony for Charles and Camilla, and here they are. This is what they've waited for. It's actually mad to think that it was 25 years ago we were burying Diana, and here they are, finally got what they wanted, and they don't even look happy about it, do they? They look pretty miserable, and those, yes, are the same thrones that Ghislaine Maxwell and Kevin Spacey, who I don't know if has he been charged or accused. He's been accused of allegedly assaulting, I think, of some victims. But yeah, those are the thrones that they were sitting on today. And I believe this was actually the first time he heard God Save the King in front of him. I don't know if he was teary or what, but he just kind of had this stony look on his face. Yeah, 70 years and there you are, being overshadowed by um your boys and their wives. Mm, Sharon, I just be happy when all this is over, and it don't make sense for Doria to bring the children if they're not going to attend this service. I mean, it's such a big moment that I don't know. Like it would be, I don't know, whatever Harry and Meghan decide, but I can understand the significance of the moment and why they would want their grandchildren there. Camilla wasn't happy at all. No, I mean, girl, where's your smile? Finally got what you wanted. You're gonna get your crown. Yes, Wendy Loman, the adulteress on the throne of the head of the church. Okay, so I was wondering if you're saying that they look like different chairs. Oh, they do actually. Maybe they're not the same chairs. They look pretty similar. Okay. Um, on to the next thing. So, with the walkabout, I think there's a general consensus that it was just really a PR stunt for the cams, and pretty much the next day there were leaks, and there were links to Richard Kay and also I think to Charles's camp, which I'll get into on the next slide. But this was the front cover of the Daily Mail. Revealed the bombshell text that sparked an unexpected show of family unity. Well, who leaked the text? And part of the story said the gesture was certainly decisive. One thing we have learned is that it was not done on the direction of their father, as was being widely reported over the weekend. So that was Charles's camp who leaked that it was Charles's idea. A royal source said such suggestions were absolutely not the case, nor is it true that William acted only after learning Harry was set on his own walkabout amongst the crowd, complete with an attendant TV crew. Why would Harry have a TV crew? Complete BS, said a source. And then, obviously, Charles's camp also leaked a story to the Daily Mail. Also, this is Kate Manzi, the woman who wrote that article where she was lying about Harry's security, saying how the new king ordered his warring sons to reunite for the sake of their late grandmother. After a chat with Charles, William blinked first to extend an olive branch to Harry in a bid to show unity at an incredibly difficult time. We know this is all BS. They're briefing against each other, and we're only on day 4. Good Morning America posted this very interesting article online where they had this picture where they actually cut out Kate, and then even in the credits, her name isn't there. And then in the actual article, it says Harry and Meghan attended their final royal engagement before stepping down. Oh, okay. Anyway, the article basically did not include Kate in the picture or in the credits, and some people noticed this and said, "Are they trying to say something?" Obviously, there have been rumors of space between, yeah, I'm gonna put it like that, space between William and Kate, and it was very, very obvious on this walk. So obvious that Good Morning America decided to post this picture. Mm. Let's go to your comments before we continue. Catherine, the world is watching, and when they see that Harry was not allowed to wear his uniform, it will backfire on the monarchy. All the world will see the royals for who they are. I think they're already seeing them for who they are. I've been on Twitter pretty much all day, and I've honestly never seen so much pushback, particularly towards the British press and the trolls that you can see on this screen. I've never seen so much pushback, and I've never seen so much pushback from people who are non-squaddies. Because I think for a while, the squad was in its own bubble, but now I'm seeing so much pushback against the press, against the other royals, from so many different people, from so many different walks of life, from so many different countries as well. It's like the Queen is gone and everybody has just come in for the pylon. So their shield is gone. And I'm also surprised how many people are coming for the royal reporters. One of those being Dan Wooten. Somebody actually meddled with his Wikipedia page and turned it to Daniel Four Takes John William Wooten, making fun of the fact that he allegedly had some American tourists film him 4 different times when he was putting flowers for the Queen, allegedly. There were people that were claiming that he did multiple takes and that he had some other people film him putting down those flowers. And he also interviewed Rudy Giuliani um, about 9/11, which um, I mean, I don't know why he's interviewing Rudy Giuliani about the Queen. He's American. Was he not the mayor of New York at the time? He should have probably been just given a tribute to Americans yesterday. Instead, he was talking to Dan Wooten. And there is quite a lot of anger about the coverage of the Queen during 9/11. One person tweeting, "Can we relegate Queen King News to HLN or Peacock or CNN International, please? No shade, but we have a former president being investigated for espionage and sedition." And there were many people who were saying this. Not a big fan of Howard Stern, but he went off on this as well. And I just find it very disrespectful because at the end of the day, Americans have 4th of July for a reason, and it just seems like it's very much overkill at this point. What's also interesting to observe is how a lot of British journalists are changing their tune now that Charles is king. And of course, the internet keeps receipts. So you have Alison Pearson here, who wrote this article headlined Prince Charles's hopeless judgment means he is not fit to be king. And this was dated August 2007. And then literally a day ago, she tweeted, It's truly astonishing to me, but our queen lies dead and the Corbynists keep up their hate on Twitter. What must it be like to wake up and be that person, the opposite of everything Her Majesty was?" So deciding to specifically attack supporters of Jeremy Corbyn, when in fact there are many different people across the political spectrum who are unhappy with the constant coverage and who are having critical conversations about the monarchy. Another example of someone switching their tone is Carol Malone. So back in 2016, posting Prince William and Kate just won't measure up to the high standards set by the Queen, and then more recently posting Meghan might dream of being Diana, but it's Kate who will truly embody her. So changing their tone now because they have to follow orders. They are now mouthpieces for the establishment. So on to something a little bit more serious. There are multiple people who have come forward. We gave 2 examples yesterday of people who are being arrested for protesting the new king. So there's a guy named Paul Powellsland who said that he went to Parliament Square and held up a blank piece of paper, blank, and an officer came and asked for my details. He confirmed that if I wrote "not my king" on it, so this tells you that the police have been briefed. He confirmed that if I wrote "not my king" on it, he would arrest me under the Public Order Act because someone might be offended. I have I don't have too much knowledge on the law, so I can't comment on that specifically, and I will do some research onto that. But that it sounds like they're abusing a particular law to crack down on any type of dissent at all. So he goes on to say a period of quiet mourning for the Queen is fine, but using that period to cement Charles's ascension as king and cracking down on any dissent to the ascension as disrespectful is outrageous, and it is. And the sign in the top corner that says "not my king," I don't have the video that accompanies that, but it was basically 3 or 4 police officers that actually led him away. And then the one at the top with a woman with green hair, that was up in Edinburgh. And then you had another one, this lady at the bottom, don't know where this was, but she had a sign that said "abolish the monarchy." So the lady with the green hair that protested in Edinburgh, she has been arrested. And there was also another gentleman who was arrested. I'll get updates on that for you if any come through tomorrow. Also, Prince Andrew was heckled today during part of the funeral procession. There was a young man who yelled from the crowd, Prince Andrew is a sick man, and I have the videos for that here. So we're gonna watch it from 2 different angles. We're gonna watch it from the what I believe was the Sky News feed, and then also from the actual crowd.
Really is the beginning of that long procession. We started with the transfer of the coffin from Balmoral to Edinburgh by road on Sunday, and now takes on this funereal pace.
And look at the way they violently grabbed him. It was just so unnecessarily violent. That's what disgusted me the most. And I don't know if you hear it too well on that audio, but immediately after he started yelling, "Andrew, you're a sick old man," people started yelling, "God save the king." Anyway, second piece of footage from the back of the crowd.
Disgusting! Hey, I've done nothing wrong.
So you can see there that he does not try to run towards the procession. He is not armed in any way. He's just yelling and heckling, which he has the right to do. And he was clearly not trying to jump the barrier or cause any harm to anyone. And I just felt it was very much an overreaction. And it would seem to me that the police up and down the country have very much been briefed. And this is very, very troubling. So some of the commentary on Twitter was, "God save the king. Save him from what? Scrutiny, democracy, inheritance tax, his winter fuel bill, Liz Truss." Somebody else saying, "A man who has been accused of rape and trafficking is being portrayed as a loving family father and a doting son, while a woman who held up a poster to condemn imperialism in the monarchy has been arrested. Make it make sense. Nell Patterson tweeting, I'm feeling very uneasy about people being arrested for shouting at Prince Andrew. Yes, because why isn't Prince Andrew being arrested? And someone else saying, Prince Andrew gets the corgis because he's the most experienced groomer in the family. Oh, do not tell me that British humor is dry, because the shade the last 3 days has been impeccable. To your comments. Dana, H always blames the institution who is run by the men in grey. The Queen's purpose and objective was to preserve the monarchy, and in doing so, she was advised to do what she needs to do. And apparently that would mean shrink herself and effectively just make herself like a puppet, like something for people to look at. So we're not looking behind her, right? To what the men in grey suits are doing. Patricia, their obsession with Harry and TV crews is ridiculous. It is, because, you know, there is no way that Harry and Meghan would bring TV crews to a time of mourning. I mean, that's just common sense. But they want so badly to paint the couple as, these low level, American reality TV stars. I mean, it's that pompous attitude, right? Even though there's actually nothing wrong with American reality TV stars, because they make their own money. They don't live off the taxpayer. Maria M, I was happy to see Angela Levin get called out today on a UK talk show. Yeah, she was called out by that Vanessa woman, and even Emily Andrews called her out as well. She did get quite scolded, and she couldn't take it. She started saying, I'm not coming on this TV show anymore if I'm going to be spoken to. Okay, Angela, don't come on. Like, nobody's going to miss you. Nobody is going to miss you and that voice of yours and your condensing vile tone towards Harry and Meghan. So, yeah, don't come on any TV shows. No one's going to miss you. You know what annoys me is that nobody is asking Angela, why is it that Harry cannot speak for himself, and that Meghan cannot speak for herself, but she can speak for them, and she can be experts on them in the most condensing and vile manner. And nobody is also asking her why she was given access to write Camilla's memoir. The person who constantly attacks Harry and Meghan wrote a biography for Camilla. I believe it comes out in August. I hope it sells 0. And I'm so glad that so many people are finally pushing back against the British tabloid reporters. They're going to regret how hard they went in on Harry and Meghan, because they broke the #1 rule of journalism. They became the story. Oh, by the way, tomorrow I was like 95% sure we'll have a special interview for you. But I just need to confirm with the individual. But if I manage to confirm it, we'll have a podcast at 7:30 with that interview, and then we'll have our usual evening podcast at 9:30. So if I manage to just confirm with her, it's going to be a very, very fun podcast. I'm very excited to have her on. Wendy Lohman, I do believe the UK military community is not amused about the unroyals in uniform. Especially a few years ago, officers wrote a letter to the Queen about Andrew not wearing military or officer's uniform. Yes. And how ridiculous does this look when Harry literally runs Invictus Games? He literally runs Invictus Games. So I think that this is also an attempt to distract from the amazing work that he does with the military. But how are you going to do that? it just shows you how much the people in the palace just live in their own bubble. If it's happening in my brain, if it's happening in my bubble, then it must be true. Like, no. Go outside, touch grass, go on Twitter, go out on these internet streets and see what people are really saying and thinking about you. Yeah. Oh, Andreen, yes, 1,000. Please thumbs up. Thumbs up, please. All right. On to okay, just a couple of last things before we finish up. Cold War Steve, who always does these amazing bits of artwork looking at British politics, just put out this. So you've got Harry and Meghan in the front there looking at the memorial for the Queen, and then in the back behind them with with fire stakes in their hands. You've got Piss Moron, you've got Dan Wooten. I think that's it. Is that Emily Andrews? Who was that? Or is that Jan Moir? I think that's Jan Moir. Angela Latrine. And then you've got in the background, Liz Truss, and is that Murdoch behind her coming in, sailing in on a boat? And then you've got what I think is the four horsemen of the apocalypse at the top. You've got the Queen going to heaven to meet Philip. Or that's how he envisioned it. And then at the bottom, you've got Jacobs Rees-Moggs, Michael Gove, Boris with his tits out, and Peter Patel laughing. And then you've got all of the I think that might be the peasants then. All there going to the palace. So great artist, great artwork as usual from Cold War Steve. And Oprah gave a short interview to Gayle King, and she reflected on the interview with Harry and Meghan, saying that she didn't set out to do a bombshell interview and that she had no idea that it would be so bombshell. Don't know how much I believe that. I think anytime you're interviewing members of the royal family and given everything that happened, it was likely to be a bombshell interview. But if you want to watch that full mini interview with Gayle King, you can go to my Instagram page, Duchess of Success official, and I posted the full interview with Gayle. So that is all for today's podcast. I'll wrap up with your comments as usual, and we'll call it a day. Day 4 down. That is gosh, how many more to go? 13. Give us strength. Oh, thank you so much to Brendanine Robinson. Oh, sorry, Bernadine Robinson for the super sticker. Much appreciated, darling. Yes, girl, Lewis. All the trolls heckling the Sussexes in that pic says it all. All right, who's gonna get the last word of the day? Delba. I want to hope that Harry said no to wearing the uniform, and now they're changing it, stating it was them not allowing him to wear it. Well, you never know with these people. They're playing a very ugly game, and it's very sad that they're playing it between family members. Literal Game of Thrones. And I just can't wait for Meghan and Harry to be back home. And it's kind of crazy to think that Charles is 73. So in 20 years minimum, 30 years maximum, we'll have another. We're going to go through all of this again. Unless the monarchy is just completely finished at that point. Wendy, when the dust is settled and the mourning period ends, the monarchy and royal reporters are in for a reality check. I think they're having the reality check already. Sharon Marcia, the military brass, they should come out and speak up for Harry about the military uniform. I think they should as well. And I think this is a very good time for them to do so. It's a very good time for them to hold their king accountable. Poet, I could go the rest of my life never hearing the word bombshell again. Yes, Quinn, the military need to speak up. Oh, thank you so much, Angela Simmons. I try to be as informative as possible. Yes, Hanan, we all want them home safely. FPG, Charles has a good 5 years in him. Do you think? Well, his health does look really bad. Those swollen fingers, some have speculated it could be arthritis. And old age can do a number of things to you. So, all right. I'm gonna end it there. Belkis, I'll give you the last word of the day. Heart, 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 heart. Translation, as Harry and Meghan would say, love wins. No bad energy. I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully, with that cool interview that I'm trying to line up. But if not, it will just be the usual podcast. All right. Ciao.
Really is the beginning of that long procession. We started with the transfer of the coffin from Balmoral to Edinburgh by road on Sunday, and now takes on this funereal pace.